This episode of Coronavirus North Carolina News Brief is brought to you by Right By You Mortgage. Wherever life takes you, we're right by you. Visit rightbyyouMortgage.com/podcast to learn more.
From WRAL News and the Capital Broadcasting Podcast Network, this is your Coronavirus North Carolina News Brief for Monday, November 2nd, 2020. I'm Brian Schrader. And while the country is focused on the election, health experts are warning that the upcoming holiday season could be deadly if the trends don't change course. WRAL's Lena Tillett spoke with UNC Infectious Disease specialist Dr. David Wohl about the direction we're headed and what we all should be doing to slow the spread.
Friday saw the greatest single-day increase in the pandemic thus far for the United States, the country adding more than 99,000 cases and more than 1,000 deaths. The nation's top infectious disease expert, Dr. Anthony Fauci, saying we could not, quote, be positioned more poorly for the winter. Joining us now is Dr. David Wohl with UNC Medical Center, who helps lead the Respiratory Diagnostic Center there. So I mentioned those national numbers, which are stunning. In North Carolina, we're also seeing average highs for new infections. Tell us what you make of this surge.
Yeah, it's really concerning. And not only that, we're seeing an increase in hospitalizations. So that's, again, a big concern to us who work in hospitals and have to think about our capacity. You know, like we've been talking about for the last several weeks, Lena, it just shows us that we're not doing the right thing, right? You know, we just have to learn from our mistakes and have to really take action. This is not headed in the direction that I think any of us want.
I've been struck by the decisions of other countries that are our allies, France and the UK, deciding to go on lockdown again and keep schools open only. What do you make of their decision making?
You know, I think it's really complicated here and in Europe. There's a lot of political pressure, and understandably, but also economic pressures as well. People are getting tired of the lockdowns. At the same time, we're learning that the virus doesn't care how we feel. And any opportunity we provide for the spread of the virus, it takes advantage of. So we may not like it, but if we don't do the right thing, then we're going to go back and forth to lockdowns. Look at what's happening in the UK, where they're having to go back to pretty austere lockdown policies. And I just fear that if we don't do it the right way and then follow up by not relaxing too much too soon, we're just going to keep seesawing back and forth between, you know, more austere, more rigorous lockdowns and then surges.
I want to just kind of follow up on that, Dr. Wohl. Would you agree with maybe a temporary lockdown here in the United States and keeping schools open?
You know, I think keeping schools open is tough. And if you're going to have a lockdown, I'm not sure how feasible it is. There's a bunch of different strategies for school openings, as we've heard about, less kids in the classes, more distancing. You know, I have kids at home too. I understand how hard it is. But boy, we saw early on in this outbreak how here in North Carolina, when we were all at home, the case numbers dropped dramatically. And as we've relaxed, as we've phased in relaxation, and as we've seen more people in work, in school, we've seen cases go up. So you know, again, from a biological standpoint, you know, it just makes me really nervous to have kids back in school the way we're talking about.
Health Secretary Dr. Mandy Cohen is urging people to get tested who attended Trump campaign rallies in the past few weeks. New studies from USA Today and CNN suggest the rallies have led to increased infection rates, specifically in those counties where these rallies are happening. How do you see these rallies contributing to our higher numbers, and how can people protect themselves if they still want to go?
Yeah, again, it comes back to Mother Nature and just the way that this virus is transmitted. So, you know, it makes perfect sense. It doesn't care if you're at a Trump rally or at a Biden rally, or for whatever reason people are together and they don't have masks on. The virus can be transmitted from an infected person to an uninfected person. So it makes perfect sense. Why would it not happen is the question. So yes, if you wear a mask, if you're outdoors, everyone's wearing a mask, the risk is much, much lower. And we have good data from some of the protests from the summertime that showed that transmission was really limited when people wore a mask. So it's not an act of defiance, it's an act of denial by not putting on a mask. So please wear a mask. It's patriotic. It helps protect fellow Americans. It's really a simple thing. I think that's the problem. It seems so simple. How could it be effective? But it is effective.
Very quickly, Dr. Wohl, you were recently in Liberia. We missed you because we wanted your expertise, but you were bringing your expertise to West Africa. Tell us the work that you were doing there and how it might inform what you do here.
Yeah, so I and others responded to the 2014 Ebola outbreak by going over there and trying to understand more about how we could stand up therapeutics, how we can find vaccines for Ebola. And we took that work and applied it to COVID-19. So I went back because we needed to follow up and get that work started up again. We've been following Ebola survivors to understand the long haulers of Ebola. And it's very similar in many ways to what we're doing with COVID-19. So I never thought that I'd have to come back home and deal with a worse outbreak than I was in West Africa, but that's exactly what's happening.
This has been your Coronavirus North Carolina News Brief for Monday, November 2nd, 2020. Let us know what you think of the podcast. Leave a rating or review wherever you listen, and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a new episode. I'm Brian Schrader.
When it comes to buying a new home, you want to know that you're in good hands. At Right By You Mortgage, the dedicated team of lenders live in your community and are committed to being right by you every step of the way. Whether you're a growing family, a relocating professional, or a retiring couple, they'll partner with you to find the right loan to fit your unique home buying needs. Plus, listeners of this podcast will enjoy the Right By You Mortgage on-time closing guarantee. They promise to close on time or they'll pay you and the seller $500. Visit rightbyyoumortgage.com/podcast to take advantage of this offer. Wherever life takes you, we're right by you. Go to rightbyyoumortgage.com/podcast for full details. Equal housing lender, NMLS number 402136.